do it on my phone right now.
Yeah, I'll DM everyone right now. How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the TNA Body Slam post show. How's it going? I'm joined always by my good buddy Io. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Man. Had a fantastic Thanksgiving with fams. We ate a hell of a lot of food, and we also kept some that hopefully we were able to finish before I don't know, January. And I'm still reeling the effects of Black Friday. As you can see, I'm just driving from JCPenney. Basically, I went from two stores to find this item for a friend of mine, but thankfully I got it. So here I am.
That's good. That's good. Bro? I'm good. Just recovering from this food coma the last couple of days. You know, definitely ate a lot more than I needed to, but it's all good. You know, can't complain. Want to thank everyone for joining us. I know it's a day late, but holidays, family in town and stuff. We want to give everyone time to kind of get back to the swing of things. But before we even get into, and there was a little bit of, I would say, a little bit of stuff on TNA this week. I think the biggest news TNA wise that we should start out right out the bat, the gate. IO. We have a new Knockouts champion, and I think that while, again, we're kind of in the era of unexpected title changes, especially, with this NXT relationship, I was actually very surprised, but I'm not going to lie, you give me that celebration and then everything surrounding her, and up until, obviously this being the 1 year that since TNA signed her, this was a very emotional. Again, I think someone else pointed out, she's the first Chinese champion, not only in TNA, but in the major major North American wrestling. Is that true as well?
That is true. That is true.
That's something. Continue. I'm sorry.
That's that is true, which shows how far how far wrestlers come that finally Chinese representations are being presented. Okay, continue.
Yeah, no, I just think that, and again, we're gonna get into this a little bit because I want to hear Io's just whole point. I'm gonna say right now, I think that TNA have to be not careful. That's the wrong word, but I think that given the way that this came about, again, that ending, everything after it, you see the emotion, you see the outpouring from TNA wrestlers, fans. This reminds me a little bit, obviously not as big of a story in terms of Santana, but I don't think that they can take the title off this woman. I want Danny to be champion as much as anybody. I love Danny. We were behind her, I think, from the beginning on this show when they started really cooking with her. But I would be very upset because I think Lei's like the new feel-good story in the company right now. This woman's worked her ass off to get to this point. And anyone, like I saw a couple people asking, why'd she get this match? It wasn't like that she's been losing a ton. I think it's been all building towards her getting that title shot. She had one with George. She came up short. But I thought this was very good, Io. What did you think about all this? You know what I mean? What were your immediate thoughts?
Just like you, man. I was surprised, but I was surprised, but I kind of had a sense. And real quick, so shout out to Gerard. I don't know if he's listening to this, but I remember asking him about Kalani Jordan, like about if she was at the taping or so.
Yes.
And then he told me no, and then I kind of like put two and two together. It's like because she was in Orlando Thursday, and then did Turning Point, but then she didn't do the taping after. And then when I heard that she didn't do it, wow, having this upcoming title match, I kind of put two and two together. This might be a chance we might have a new champion, and lo and behold. So Lei Ying Lee, yeah, here's someone who has worked their butt off, you know, and I'm gonna touch on what Tommy Dreamer pointed out. Also, you gotta mind you, she basically started wrestling the moment she got signed with WWE. So like, yeah, she did the tryouts in Shanghai, China. She was like one of I don't know the exact number. She was one of few China tryouts that eventually got the tryout offer to WWE. Worked their butt off. Did the Mae Young Classic. Did the Mae Young Classic and stuff, and had the NXT runs. Obviously it didn't work out and stuff, but to her credit, she just kept, she just kept the pace. Did whatever they asked WWE asked her to and stuff, and for made the mo- made you know made the most of it because Gail Kim touched about this too, that she's very well liked. Obviously, as you can see, from the picture, she's very well liked, very kind, well spirited, and also a legit mixed martial artist. Like, and because she can also kick some ass and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Tommy kind of touched up like on the Chinese representation. So basically, out of all those tryouts, nobody, they're all gone. Um, yeah, I'm gonna say like they're all gone. There's kind of like I'm just gonna say there's lack of Chinese representation, in sport of pro wrestling, right? In my opinion, especially with WWE. So for her that she's still around, it kind of says a lot. And to even end up becoming the first Chinese, not only first Chinese teenage champion, also first Chinese world champion, in wrestling is a huge. It's huge. Even Tommy said that Lei Ying came up to him and said like he has no idea how important it is, and obviously you saw when she was in tears. So yeah, long story short, yeah. So yeah, to sum it up, yeah, I'm very happy for Lei Ying Lee. Like she's come a long way. She come a long way, yeah, from the tryouts to the Mae Young Classic, WWE runs, and now coming to TNA representing and win the title. Very happy for her. That being said, I know you touched up on like TNA needs to like treat this right serious, and I agree. Like, and I feel this was due to circumstances, obviously because of the Ash by Elegance situation. Because she first brought the title back to TNA, but now
Mm-hmm.
and it's no brainer. Yeah, they put the belt on Kalani for like to as a bandage. Like basically NXT and Kalani was basically a bandage with that reign. So here we are with giving it to someone like Lei Ying Lee. I think she's going to do well. She obviously, she's an incredible talent. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with the how she do well with promos and and whatnot and stuff. I mean, because she can't speak China, she can't speak her native tongue Chinese for that long. But I mean, she can speak English. But I'm just kidding. So yeah, sum it up. Yeah, very happy for her. Let's see what happens next.
And you know what, people, I think a lot of people would echo this and I would think agree, but this isn't WWE where it seems to be if you don't speak English that holds you back. I've said it many times, wrestling, I think just like a lot of sports, soccer, football to be the big one, it is a global sport. And wrestling I think is the same thing. And so I think it's very ignorant to expect everyone to speak English, you know what I mean? And I don't think that should hold anybody back. And so I'm glad to see that TNA is pushing her because, again, like I just said, it doesn't matter to me. And I don't think it should matter to anyone else. It's what happens between the ring, those 4 ropes. And Lei can go, and she looks like a champion. And real quick before I'll let you jump back in, but your point too, just about, again, on the Chinese thing, first Chinese champion, I really think that they could do a lot with this as her reign, you know what I mean? Having her like really be global with this thing, you know what I mean? And really, why not have people from different races who haven't had the opportunity to challenge for this title, have her go to different promotions, you know what I mean? I know that they've got something going. If I think I saw last week, what was it, in Qatar, I believe, Qatar. Yeah, and I know TNA does pretty well in India, I believe. Her taking this title around the world, to kind of defend it, I think would be very cool.
Agree. I know she's done some matches in TJ and Tokyo Joshi Pro. I know prior to TNA and stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if she comes back there as a champion. But yeah, I agree. Like, just because English is her second language, that doesn't mean like that should kind of be a problem as far as putting her in a position in a spotlight. Because I see WWE now, at least they're giving Asian talent, Asian female talent, especially proper storyline. Like, for example, like on Raw, the storyline between Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and the Kabuki Warriors. And most of the time, it's Asuka and Io doing the talking. Yeah, they're speaking in their language and stuff. But like, at least with a little bit of English and stuff, you can understand the storyline.
Yeah.
Obviously, Io was friends with them, and then they betrayed her, and yada yada yada. And I gave credit to WWE, like, hey, this is rare. Like, you're actually giving Asian talent who have English as a second language some very serious storylines. Like, long gone are the ridiculous, Funaki and Kaientai storylines, the Yoshitatsu storyline. No offense to them, but you get what I mean. So I think I can see TNA doing something similar, like, with Lei Ying Lee. I mean, obviously, she's still a tag team with her partner Zaya Brookside and stuff. So we can see some storyline development,
Yes.
But it'll be interesting to see what's next for her.
Completely agree, and yeah, especially everything you said about like that, just in terms of WWE stuff. Completely agree. Okay, before we move on, was there anything else that you wanted to say? Like, what do you just real quick? Where do you think this goes? Do you think that this makes the Genesis match more clear? Is it going to be her versus Danny? I see a lot of people saying it's going to be Zaya. What do you think? And just early thoughts on that.
Yeah, for the final resolution match, honestly, it could go either way. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being Zaya Brookside. Because I mean, let's be real. Like, I mean, we're high on Daniel Luna. We actually want her to be champion. So I was like, my opinion, I don't think she should get a title match that early.
And
you
lose, exactly. Yeah.
So if Lei Ying Lee is gonna have at least a successful title defense, have it like in a competitive way with with her tag team partner. So yeah.
Yeah, especially the storyline. If because I've seen people kind of mention that Danny kind of Zaya wins by DQ. I like that because it's the kind of little bit of the storyline layer of the storyline of Danny kind of snapping and you know what I mean, kind of going overboard a little bit. You know what I mean? I like that because that kind of keeps her strong. She doesn't have to win every match. She's getting pissed off. So until when they're ready to pull the trigger and make her champ. But yeah, I do like, now that I think about it, Zaya would be the better choice. So I think that'd be a great match between the two of them, especially if the whole thing with they are friends. You know what I mean? I don't think we're going to see a turn. So, okay. Next, I want to get into a little bit just because I feel like this is kind of fresh. We were kind of talking about this before we went live. Pull it up on here. According to Fightful, Jake Something's TNA contract goes through the end of 2025. And I think that this is interesting because I don't have the other one in front of me, but I believe it was Fightful as well. I'll have to look. Had mentioned earlier this week that a former AEW talent was getting eyes on him from TNA, and I believe that talent is Bear Bronson, formerly of Boulder, from Bear Country. And I don't know, wasn't really keeping up with him towards the end, but it was rumored that TNA had eyes on him. And I kind of mentioned in our group chat before this Jake Something news came out that, man, I don't see, they already have a guy like that on the roster. His name's Jake Something, and they can't really do anything with him. And then you fast forward a day later, and then for this news to come out, this one kind of shocks me. But at the end of the day, even though I'd be sad to lose him, one, I don't think that TNA should act like the victims here. I don't think they've booked him the best. I think there's circumstances on both ends that could have contributed to that. But this was interesting news. First, let me just get your thoughts on the Jake Something, the part of it. What do you think about this news?
Yeah, it's ironic, ain't it? Like the Bear Bronson news, and then you mentioned Jake Something, and here we are with this. Yeah, Jake Something news. It's funny, right? Um, Originally, well, correct me if I'm wrong. Like originally, I thought the report were Jake signed like at least 1 year. I thought his deal was supposed to end in the summer, but I guess that's not the case. So yeah.
Well, could they real quick, could it have been like a thing like an AEW, how would they see that we see them add injury time on? Could something of like that happen?
It it could. It could, but I mean he wasn't injured for that long. But yeah, when I saw it, I mean I was kind of throwing left field, like throwing left field. At the same time, I mean also like obviously I would like him to stay, but then you think, but also another reason is like if okay, well if he stays, then what? Like basically what? Because Jake's been back with the company since 2023, and seems like he's kind of been in the same position as he came back. What I mean, obviously, he's a show stealer without a doubt. Like any match you put Jake Something in, like he's gonna wow the crowd because wow the crowd. You know, put on a good match and so because he's that talented for a big guy and he can fly. And yeah, he's an incredible talent. I don't need to say much more about him. It's just so wild on management or creative or whoever that they can find anything for Jay Something to put him in position where he can grow and build up his stock. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like it's so wild because everywhere, everyone, even the crew and talent have even the crew and talent have sing this dude praises. Like even Josh Alexander, even even Josh Alexander, like there's not when Josh was still there, there's not a day that goes by that he always be praising Jake Something, as far as his talent ability. So yeah, anyway, it's just so wild that we've not really done much. I'm talking about TNA as whole. We haven't really done much with this guy. Like as far as like, not let's just say championships aside, I'm saying like make him like an important figure. Like that's kind of like the main question. Like why wasn't he an important figure in TNA? And I honestly, I know there's some maybe explanation too, but at the same time, you can't really give an exact reason. Like there should be no reason why he shouldn't be a figure. Like forget the name, like forget the name, whatever, okay, or his I don't know if he has a character or whatnot, but at the same time, like look at him, you know what I'm saying? Like look at him, he's big, he's talented, like, and the fact that and the fact that like we're at the worry of like him potentially leaving, and at the same time it's like what, we can't at this point we can't even blame him. Like if he wants to pursue other things, like look, watch him in the indies, like DPW and stuff. Like he's he's killing it. He's being presented at the way he should be. It's just so wild, like because and I'm finished real quick. It's just so wild. Like we see who TNA brings in, and like they already push in and put in the spotlight. And I'm not knocking that, but at the same time, it's just like you need to like and develop, homegrown talents who are new to like being in that spotlight. Basically, what I'm trying to say is representation. Like who really represents TNA? And I thought Jake something would be one of those guys. So yeah, at this point, like I wouldn't be surprised if he considered other options. So I'll just let you to it before I continue. Yeah.
You know what? And real quick, to your point, yes, if this was the 80s, 90s, look at him. You know what I mean? First name that comes to mind was like Scott Norton. I know Scott Norton wasn't the most charismatic, flashiest guy, but that's the guy I'm like, look at him. And they found something to do with him. You know what I mean? They were using Scott Norris out there squashing geeks every week, and it was getting over. You know what I mean? When he was in the NWO. To me, Jake, and I think we talked about. And real quick, and yes, according to Fightful, from a few days ago, AEW veteran Bear Bronson has been in talks with TNA. When it comes to Jake, yeah, and what you said is. People have been talking about that. I haven't seen much DPW. Jake was their champion, and he's booked there. He's made to look like a star. Now, I've heard someone kind of mention along the lines of maybe this is like a thing where it's easier to get him over in smaller places, indies. That's fine. To me, I still think creative, when you have a guy like that, any creative with half a brain should be able to figure out what to do again with somebody that you would describe as look at him. He looks like a monster. In terms of where he would go, look, if these companies are, if behind the scenes is kind of set in stone that he's not going to be a big star, that I could see, again, there's nothing wrong with going to somewhere else and making more money. Like, again, he's someone I see them bringing to WWE, either one, have him go to NXT, which I think he could have a really good run there. They need people in that main event division in NXT. But also I could see them putting with, they're going really faction heavy now. Again, he'd look really good, in a group being the guy that goes out there and wrecks shop. I really don't see AEW as a fit for him, again, because I think that he would have the same problems he's having in TNA, which I don't know. We know he can talk, but they don't really give him that opportunity. And before I let you get back in, I think we kind of were talking about this before. When I think see Bear Bronson, I've heard someone say he is a little bit younger. As we kind of get to this point where TNA is gearing up for a TV deal, supposedly where they might have a more influx of cash, I don't think it's a bad thing, and I think it's smart teams do this. I think they're loading up and trying to get as much cash as they can to go big free agent hunting when the time is right and they get that deal. And so I don't think that they're going to re-sign everybody. At least not right now. And I think that could be a smart deal. And that's a smart thing. And that's why I think you're seeing so many contracts kind of lapse a little bit and not being taken care of. Because I think that they're not just going to be in a race to sign everyone like they normally would. I think that they can get some big names when they get this deal.
I think you brought up a good point. Like I think unfortunately now's not the time to re-sign some talent, but like hopefully they can once this TV deal and all the benefits comes through. Like I think that's a good point you mentioned. I'll get to Bear Bronson. Is that how you call his name?
Yes, Bear Bronson.
Bear Bronson, yeah. Not really too familiar with him, but or the tag team, but yeah, like you said, big guy, heavyweights, ish guy, TNA could probably find something to do with him. Unfortunately, yeah, I feel bad for him actually because his former partners on unforgivable actions, domestic abuse. I mean, you guys can look that up. But it left him in a tough space because your partner got fired, rightfully so, and basically AEW doesn't really see much value in you. Like that's just kind of how it is. Like it's like basically yeah, like when basically like when someone you're supposed to make money with, drops the ball, and then you're left on your own, and then AEW, basically doesn't really have much more to do. And that's just kind of how it is. So I'm glad that at least yeah, TNA is pursuing interests. Hopefully it works out, and maybe they might see something in him. So we'll see. Yeah, as far as Jay something, well, he has friends, in AEW, so I would not be surprised if they put in a word for him stuff. So I would not be surprised. And hey, who knows? Hey, he might just I mean, the thing is like yeah, he'll still be the same character. It might be join the stupid Don Callis family for all I care or not. But hey, but the thing is like he'll be facing top tier talent, which is something Jake should have been doing here in TNA. So I mean, at this point, it's just like I know like I have defended TNA too many times. I'm not ashamed of that. I'll probably continue to after, but it's just one of those things like this could have been avoided. Like Jake could have been in Steve Macklin's position or Mike Santana's position by now, and it's the fact that he's not is just disappointed. So I'll just leave it at that.
Real quick, I want to just Norris's comment in the chat. Norris, I just thought of that too, and I was thinking about, if Eric Young's cleanse is Bear Bronson, I want to fancy book adding Jake something into there. That's a kind of tag team. I'm like, okay, now that's who should be beating the Hardys. You know what I mean? Because yeah, like that. And again, going back to the cleanse, now that's a group that I think strikes fear. You know what I mean? Eric Young having those two guys standing behind him. I think that could be something, because I was already thinking about, I think maybe Bear Bronson could be brought in to be with Eric Young, which I don't hate. You know what I mean? Eric Young knows what to do when in terms of creating factions. I think that could work. And yeah, you made the comment, and I think that's very funny. What are they just gonna put him with the Don Callis family, and he'll be the 10th guy on that? You know what I mean? He'll be coming off the bench on Collision. You know what I mean? But I don't see him breaking through that starting 5 from that faction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah. I know. I was just saying, like, basically, yeah, like they'll just he might be just another addition to the Don Callis family, or I mean he'll be behind Callis and Fletcher and all that stuff, but at least put on some matches or whatever suits for Jake at this point. So
yeah, exactly. Again, like you said, like just to wrap it up, like it's very surprising that because it's very surprising, because it seems like you don't have to take a long time to even think of new ideas. Yeah, like I never thought about putting with Macklin, but that would have worked. You know what I mean? But yeah, and him should have been where Macklin was in terms of rising through the ranks. You know what I mean? Like he should have had the trajectory that a lot of the other ones are having, especially given his talent. So, and we're gonna get to Miguel's comment later. Miguel, I saw what you just said. We'll talk about that when we get to there. But next I want to move on till I saw that it's kind of been talking about. I want to move on to a little Genesis talk, and the reason I want to bring that up, more speculation, is because as people have been following, we still do not have a date yet, and I don't know if we have the venue yet, but we're getting a little closer to that. I know we've seen a few things in our group chat. I'm not going to address those just because, again, I don't have any confirmation, but it's a little worrisome just because, you see the way how WWE plans their shows out in advance. I know Genesis isn't one of the big 4, but this is a little worrisome. You know what I mean? Just because, remember hearing about this last AEW show, people just talking about, it going late and, all the travel that goes into that. For people who want to travel to this show, you need to give them a little bit more in advance. I know the show's still not till January, but we're almost to December here. Like, you think we would have a little bit more info, but what is your take on all this? And then when do you think we'll have something concrete?
I agree too. It actually is one of the four big pay-per-views, and the
Oh,
fact
is it?
that
Okay.
yeah, and the fact that here we are, December's next week, and like we still don't have a date is ridiculous. I hope I hope it's for I hope it's for I hope it's settled like as soon as possible because like you got to do advertising and then media and then of course building up the storylines and stuff. So yeah, I like you're not the only one there. Um, Considering it's in Dallas, you would think it'd be in the Curtis Colwell Center, which is where they were earlier in January. But that too, like that's a big venue, and you need to start get hopping onto putting the word out there and stuff. Also that we don't even know where they're going after Genesis. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we were just kind of chatting. We were also just kind of chatting about that in the group chat and stuff. It's just I know it's just hopefully it's just one of those things where it's poor planning and not TNA's another TNA issue of not really communicating with their audience, and I think that's the main thing. They're not really communicating enough with the audience. The folks are still complaining about like them taking that month off after Bound for Glory, um, complaining about the Thanksgiving episode. Although I thought it was decent, but that's we'll get into that later. But also basically, and then of course the incident that happened in the Orlando taping that they saw with Jacob Cohen wrestling fan. So yeah, to
Oh,
kind of sum it
yes.
up, yeah, to sum it all up, yeah, it's just TNA's not doing enough to kind of like communicate with his audience, like, hey, what's going on? When's this happening? And at times I try to give them the benefit of that, like, hey, like maybe this it's involved like the TV deal, like they spend maybe this is why they're spending much time, on hiatus. But even then, it's just like we're pretty much towards the end of 2025. Like we need to start coming up with 2026 plans. What is TNA's goal and mission for 2026? Obviously, the TV deal. I hope that be the main thing out of one of them. It's also just like what are the main stories going on? Like I would have a sense like Santana. Hopefully, this is my own thinking. Like Santana will probably get the world championship like back in early 2026 or that's my own thing. But yeah, basically, yeah, we need more information. Like once, yeah, we need more information, and we're not getting enough from TNA.
Usually you're never going to hear me say I want the company I like to take anything from do something that WWE is doing. But one thing I would like TNA to do the WWE is look how long WWE plans their shows out in advance, especially like the big ones. You know what I mean? Like, the WWE knows how to make money. You know what I mean? And the longer you have a show announced, the easier it is to sell tickets, I would think. So yeah, this is one of their big four. Like the big four, those should be announced way like in advance throughout the year, and everything else should fall into place because those are the shows that people are usually willing to travel for. You know what I mean? Those are like the one again, like those are the Summer Slams, the Royal Rumbles. You know what I mean? Like those are the ones that people will travel for because those will have just everything surrounding it. So yeah, Genesis is replacing Rebellion as one of the big four, as Norris had said. You would think that we would have something, especially since this is the first pay-per-view of January. Come on, we should have a little bit more concrete info. You know what I mean? It's a little shitty, but the only thing I guess I could chop it up to is that just with everything going on right now, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I hope that me giving them the benefit of the doubt, I hope I'm not fooled in the end. I'm not to make look like an idiot. So
all I can say is like we need more information and yeah, like we need
completely
more
agree.
information. Yeah, because like because it's like I get it. You're the third company out of between WWE and AEW. It's just, but if they're willing to kind of like connect with their audience as far as like plan what's happening next and goals and stuff, like TNA should do the same. Like make the effort. That's all I can say.
Like you would think too, like one of the things that could have happened maybe like during this, like I'm surprised we haven't seen more shows from NXT and TNA ran the same weekend, just because I think that would make it easier not only to sell tickets but to get venues locked down. Just because with the, obviously, yeah, there's just certain things I thought that they would be using WWE for a lot more than what they have been. But yeah, again, hopefully we get some more details locked in as the days go on. Okay, before we just move on to our next set of just next couple things we got to talk about, and we do have a lot more to talk about. Just want to remind everyone this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelics but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, it might actually stick in your head rather than forgetting it immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system. And we all know you're going to need that when you're on those nasty-ass gym mats. On top of all that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to eatshroombar.com and use Body Slam at checkout for your first 25% off your first order. Okay. Next, I kind of want to get into a little bit before we get into. Well, actually, no, I do want to get into it. We're going to move into that to this week's episode of TNA. And I'll let everyone know. I don't know how much you watched it. I definitely watched the turkey match just because that was kind of the most newish match. Did you actually watch the whole show, or did you bits and pieces? How much did you actually watch of it?
Only just some bits of it. I did watch the turkey. I did watch the turkey match. I mean, because obviously, like that's. I mean, as an OG TNA fan, like I was entertained by the whole turkey suit stuff. So I knew that was kind of like get my interest. But I saw bits of it, knowing that it was probably gonna be like like another throwback TNA, highlighted and stuff. I mean, to their credit, they showed us some never before seen matches and stuff. But yeah, yeah. I didn't see. Yeah, I still didn't see the whole show yet, but I saw the turkey match.
It's funny you mentioned that because before we actually get into this match, the current one, I think you pointed out perfectly. For like us, like old school TNA fans, you longer than me, but TNA fans for, I would say, any long period of time. This kind of match, even though it is silly, is kind of ingrained in the company, and I've always had a soft spot for it. I wanted us to talk a little bit about our favorite ones through the years. Obviously, too, and that's what I liked about this year's match. We kind of had some turkey costume alums in there, Brian Myers and Eric Young. But yeah, like there's just been so many like great Eric Young moments through the years. Like one that sticks out to me is like when it was like him and Rudy Charles backstage, and like Eric kept like kind of like poking him with like the beat. Like, dude, it was so funny. And then obviously the year when it was Robbie E versus I believe Eric Young as well, and Robbie E had to wear it. Like it's almost tradition. Like they even showed you like AJ Styles wore it, and I don't think AJ Styles this has looked as a blemish on his career. Yeah, like I was saying, like the amount of like people who have won it, and if you look at those names, these aren't scrubs. We'll get into 30 Thursday's winner. But yeah, welcome back, Io. I was just pointing out, Io, look at all the names who have worn that turkey suit. And these aren't jobbers, Io. Like, you know what I mean? Like AJ Styles has fucking worn that thing, and no one's gonna say that, man, that ruined his career.
Absolutely. Like, no, yeah, I mentioned like numerous names have and too. Numerous names have donned the turkey suit. Styles, Shelley, Rob Terry. Nobody remembers him, but
yeah, I do.
Chris Masters, Glenn Gilberti, the Disco Inferno, aka Disco Inferno, Brian Myers last year, and of course, yeah. So I mean, yeah, this is. Hey, I just say, hey, if they're willing to kind of like, you know, put some, humility on, wear that humility and wear the turkey suit, and then hey, like, you can't really complain. Like you mentioned, like guys like AJ, Shelley, they donned the turkey suit. So what's your excuse?
Yeah,
and always like the stipulation they always add, like if you don't put on the turkey suit, you will be fired and stuff. So.
And they kept pointing out, like, the winner gets that big bonus. Yeah. And it was funny. I believe, like we mentioned, I believe going back to this one, it was Brian Myers, Nick Nemeth, Eric Young, Trey Miguel. Who I'm missing 2 names. Who else am I missing?
You said Myers, Miguel, Mance.
Yeah, okay. I had forgotten Mance.
The hometown
man. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like you look at
Nemeth, I think, yeah.
Myers in this match, who they kind of were talking about, he's had to wear it before. I just think that, getting to see heels get there is kind of what keeps people coming back, because, you can't just have a heel running roughshod every time. You know what I mean? Heels looking wacky, looking like making fools of themselves. Kurt Angle was never afraid to make a fool of himself, and he's one of the best of all time. So, yeah, for what this was, I looked at it. We're getting some new content, some sort. I thought this was fun. You know what I mean? I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the Thanksgiving special without the turkey?
Real quick, I just want to address our buddy why Io gets back. Just our buddy Miguel's comment, just saying that guys, Bert told me Ryan Nemeth is the best wrestler in the world. I don't think I said that, and if I did, I don't remember it. But I did say that Ryan is funny in this role as the dork, Nick Nemeth's dork brother. He did comment to me, respond to me, because I had said that him wearing the turkey suit was the role that he was born to play. He did say commenting to me, no thanks. I thought that was very funny. But yeah, and Nora said it as well. It's a badge of honor wearing that turkey suit. No, it's not going to hurt Ryan. Again, he's a fucking former tag team champion, and that's more than I could ever thought I would say about him, especially given his time in AEW, which I thought was pretty entertaining, given the stuff that they had him doing, and just kind of his whole gimmick, which is kind of the same thing he's doing here. You know what I mean? The kind of thinks he's a hunk, thinks he's an actor. Delusional heels are always the best kind of heels. That's one of my favorites. But again, overall, this match was fine. Like I said, I didn't watch the rest of the show. I know it was basically just pretty much like a best of. Again, I had other things to do. It was Thanksgiving, but again, the turkey match was entertaining. I'm glad they actually did it this year. I'm glad they did it this year again, because that is a TNA tradition. So for them to continue that, I thought that was really cool. Okay, welcome back, Io, again. Io, before we move on, just final thoughts on the turkey match. And And anything else that you saw on the show that jumped out to you that you want to talk about?
Oh yeah. I'm not surprised. Yeah, Ryan Nemeth. It was Ryan Nemeth, who suffered the.
Yeah, Ryan Nemeth wearing the turkey suit was very. That had to happen. That was the only choice. I also thought, Io, that I also think that just too, like, when that, even though it was easy, it was predictable. I thought that the match was still also very fun, even though, again, it is a comedy match, and you take it for what it was. But I did like the whole time. I'm like, man, Ryan's got to wear this suit. Like, if he doesn't, what are we doing here? Especially, I was like, I didn't need to see Eric Young wear it again, especially since they're trying. It would seem that they're trying to do something with Eric Young again, while a lot of it is a little bit of the same. If they're still doing something. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about. Oh, sorry. Okay. Is there anything else on the show that you did watch? Again, I said I didn't watch it, but was there anything that you wanted to talk about from the show?
Not much. Yeah, I kind of knew Ryan was getting the turkey suit. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't Ryan compete again? Like after that, didn't he had another match after that?
Yeah, with Krampus. Is that a wrestler? I know the movie Krampus, but was that like a real thing or?
I don't know. I thought it was. I thought I heard the word Kratos. So I'm like, oh,
Kratos. Oh, Kratos. Okay.
Yeah. But no, I think you got it right, Krampus. So.
Well, I'm interested to see if they. I'm interested to see that if they do if they show that.
Yeah, I was saying like, hey, like, oh yeah, I saw Miguel's comment earlier, kind of left too, but yeah, hey, at least Ryan's getting his work cut. I mean, he's on a roll. I mean, 3 matches, 3 matches last night. I was like, hey, don't say TNA didn't do nothing for you and stuff.
Yeah. And you know what, too? Like, given Ryan, and it seems like Nick and him have a lot of stuff going on outside of TNA. TNA is really like the perfect company for them. You know what I mean? It allows them to pursue a lot of their interests. That's why we kind of always talk about Cardona, the same thing. Those guys have a lot going on. It's not like they have relying on wrestling at this point. So, but yeah, no, Nemeth did have, Ryan, good for Ryan. He had a lot of matches this week. That workhorse. Okay. The last thing I kind of wanted to get into, I'm obviously not going to do predictions, but we did get quite a bit of we've got a lot of matches for Final Resolution. It seems like the card is complete. The 2 new ones we got, and I think these are absolute bangers. We got obviously the All-Star 8-man tag. We're getting the Rascals versus Order 4. I don't see how anybody can't be excited about that one. Rascals, I don't really care who wins this one as long as the Rascals look strong. They're just kind of back as a team again. Order 4, it seems like they're positioned in for big things as they should. I like this one. This should be good. And the other match that they added, which, again, I think this will be another good one just because who's in it, and I'm referring to Tessa. It's Tessa and Victoria Crawford versus the Inspiration for the tag titles. I think, I'm not going to say the winner now, but I think we're going towards, well, I guess I'm saying it. Tessa's getting some gold. And I think I'm fine with it at this point. Tag team gold, I can deal with that. But what do you think? Early thoughts on this Final Resolution card? It's looking good. Like there's a lot to fucking sink your teeth into. We already knew about AJ versus Leon. We're getting Frankie versus JDC. Even like some of those NXT matches. I think Mike Santana versus Charlie Dempsey. Anyone who's familiar with Charlie William Regal's son, the kid can go. So What are your early thoughts on Final Resolution?
Yeah, I think this card. I know our buddy Mike Gilbert touched on it. In one hand, it might be kind of a weak build. I mean, because what's this card really based on? I'm not really no, I'm not really knocking, but like just kind of saying like from a building standpoint. But at the same time, as always, TNA delivers, and I think some of these matches, are gonna end up some like we have some show stealers, some matches that might be slept on but might wow some people, and when it's all said and done, El Paso, they're gonna have a great night, and folks watching are gonna get their viewings word, in my opinion. So Final Resolution is something to look forward to. Someone in the chat mentioned could be JDC's final match. He said he's retiring at Genesis in January.
Yes, this is Final Resolution, but yeah, he's getting he'll. I'm assuming they're gonna have, because I don't expect him to win this one. So yeah, I think they'll send him out on a high note on that one. But just the idea of JDC getting a title match, which I think he very much deserves given his time in TNA. That should be a good one. Kyle, you mentioned. What were you saying, Kyle?
I was gonna say we should also predict for next Thursday's go home show card, because it's kind of loaded too. Some NXT TNA matches and the number one contenders. But you continue.
I was just gonna say how when you're talking about matches, people might be sleeping on. The one that really stands out to me is the Hardys versus High Rise, Tyson DuPont and Tyrick Igwe. I think the Hardys are going to really take it upon themselves to make these guys look good. We talked about last week how we were both impressed by their promos in that whole segment with all the NXT guys. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that one. Kyle, now that you mentioned, I do want to get into that for TNA next week. Do you think that if the Inspiration drop the titles, that could be a sign that they're not re-signing?
It could. It could. I mean,
okay.
At least for that indication, because
we still haven't heard.
I'm not sure.
I was just gonna say.
I was gonna say the same too. We haven't heard much if they resigned or they are on a pay per appearance deal or whatnot.
Because what's funny to me, I always, it seems like they're one of the deals that they're kind of letting go as long as possible. And I wouldn't say that this Tessa and Victoria match came out of nowhere, because I think that they've slowly been building something with them. But this match did kind of feel out of nowhere. And just, again, I really do, just because the way it came about, I do think we're going to see new champions. So yeah, I'd be very interested to see if the Inspiration go after this. But let me try to pull up do you have the matches for next week's show? Or let me see if I can pull them up. Because there were the one I knew about.
I was gonna say I can say them at the top of my head.
Okay, I knew Robert Stone versus Santana was one of them.
Yeah. The Hometown Man versus Brooks Jensen, and we have the number one contenders match, Luna versus Brookside, and we have the 4-on-4 tag match. Tyson and Tigwe. Tyson and Tigwe, Lexis King and Stax against the Hardys, Steve Macklin and Cedric Alexander.
Man.
So it's pretty much some momentum building for next week's go home show.
Well, I think it's always funny because me and you always talk about this a lot. I was a big Bromance fan, big Robbie E fan. I'm looking forward to Robert E. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to a little return of Robbie back to the Impact Zone, a little match. I think him and Macklin should be him versus Santana should be very good. That 8-man tag sounds awesome. I hope the knockouts get the main event just because I think, I think that's the biggest match on the show. But yes, this should be a very good going home show. I'm looking forward to this. And I believe it was announced earlier in the week. I believe TK has decided to put Final Battle on Friday as well. People, Final ROH can wait. Watch
That's
TNA.
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
or if you have 2 screens, that's fine. But put the bigger one on TNA. You know what I mean? Like, you can watch ROH later. Like, Final Resolution. You don't sleep on this one.
Right. Exactly. We all know like. I mean, I know like next Friday is gonna be quite a hectic day. Like SmackDown, Final Battle, and Final Resolution. So, hey, like all I can say is don't sleep on this card. Like you got some really hardworking talent on this card that they're gonna put on a good show. I'll just leave it at that. And it's real ones. We know that like you watch all the PLEs. I'm serious. I mean just watch all the PLEs that TNA has done. And you can't tell me neither one of them is a bad show. You cannot tell me that.
I think TNA, obviously, it hurts me that less more vocal in terms of the fans, in terms of there's not as many of them, obviously, you could say. But I would say just along the lines with, AEW being on a heater this year, I don't think TNA's had I was pointing, I don't think TNA's had a bad show this year. And again, if this, to me, is just another selling point to get the app, like all the non-Big Four shows deliver, you know what I mean? And if that's just as far the tier you're going to get on the app, and then you're going to pay for the pay-per-view separately, which I do, it's still a very great value, because those, I don't even like calling them B shows because that's insulting. Like, they deliver
I call
you know
them
what I mean?
plus specials.
Yeah. Again, no disrespect to WWE and their 4-match cards, but you get so much quality and quantity in a TNA show. Like, it's something to really be, I really hope in the giving months, especially with the more potential eyes of the new TV deal, they really get recognized for that. Because again, and also the TNA app is like the best thing since the WWE app. There's 20 years of TNA history on that thing. You know what I mean? Going back to when they were at the fairgrounds, you know what I mean? At the Asylum years, like you could literally watch all of that. So yeah, just go sign up.
That's right. Yeah, go sign up. Like everything Bert said, you're gonna get your money's worth. Get hardworking talent, put on good shows, along with the library, and of course, the weekly, Impact episodes. So, yeah.
And I'm sure, and because they usually do this, I haven't checked, but I'm sure that they already have a tab for all the best turkey matches on there. I'm sure there was already a Thanksgiving section, you know what I mean? Which, though, there's some really gems to go watch. Like I said last week, go watch the one at Kurt Angle's house. That was a great one. You know what I mean? If you really want to be entertained. But with that being said, any final thoughts before we get out of here? I know this was a slow week, but again, there was still, I think, a good amount of stuff to talk about. But any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
Yeah. Well, again, I know, nothing's really been. None really has been spreading news much, as far as TNA, as far as TNA goes. But hey, this is only for a reason, Like everyone, everyone has plans, holidays and stuff. And then when the smoke clears, then news starts piling, preparation for the new year and stuff. So all I can say is hang tight. Keep tuning in. Impact's back next week. Should be a good go home show. And Final Resolution, as we keep saying, it shouldn't be looked over. And hopefully, as I mentioned earlier, hopefully some new information for TNA as far as 2026 plans go to speak. So in the meantime, now's a good time to, I just could say, just kick back, relax, look back at the great year TNA has had, bar none, like without question, and think about what's next, because right now is a good time to just kind of celebrate your wins. Like, I think we all can agree TNA should celebrate their wins right now. Because, hey, I mean, I was at Slammiversary, and it was very heartwarming, like, or wholesome to know that, like, hey, they're in the freaking UBS arena, and like they have this many people. That's kind of like basically covering the whole building, and here we are, almost a year ago, where people thought they were insane. Of, like, filling up the UBS arena. Like, people, like, literally people thought they were insane of doing that, and saying, like, how saying, like, like, disrespecting is like, oh, like, there's gonna be comp tickets and da da da, or like, or haha, like, 4K and UBS venue and this and that. But hey, like, I always knew, like, they always had preparation. Like, they always knew what they were gonna do. Like, they had all strategies on lock way before even when we went past Rebellion. So I'll leave it at that. So yeah, basically, yeah, TNA should just kind of count their wins. Obviously, the WWE relation is a big one of those wins as well. So I think, yeah, from the TNA fandom standpoint, we should all just kind of like take a step back and like see how far TNA has come and what TNA is capable of doing as we move forward.
You know what? I think a lot of the negative, and final thought before we get out of here, I think a lot of the negative chat, especially since, TNA kind of going dark for a month, it was just made worse because its timing's everything. If you've been paying attention to TNA for, the last few years, that they kind of go a little bit slow toward the end of the year. You know what I mean? And, the taping and everything. So it was just made to be worse. They decided to take a month off during their slow period anyway. So again, I think there's big things coming. Again, obviously, you have a go home show coming on Friday, on Thursday, live show on Friday, and we got that TV deal coming. So just hang tight, and like you said, enjoy the wins. There have been aplenty, and just block out all the haters, ignore the negative chatter. It don't matter.
Remember why you're a fan in the first place. Like,
exactly
I know some are joining, some phased out, but like some that stuck around. To those who stuck around, remember why you stuck around them. Like, hey, like, we're all. I say this from like the TNA crew standpoint. We're all on the same team. We all want the same mission. We want TNA to be bigger than it is now, and like, at least, regain some of that sauce or some sort that they once had, so to speak. And hey, if a partnership with WWE is going to at least help them with the exposure problem, so be it. Like, hey, like, at the end of the day, it's a business, and
exactly.
TNA is needed in this wrestling business, and that is a fact.
Yeah, because it's not like not everyone is going to leave WWE and go to AEW, or leave AEW and go to WWE. There's always going to be room for those people who are still trying to figure it out, or those people who are not necessarily on their way out, but are winding down, but still have a lot to give. But maybe the company that they were previously has other plans, and that's a business. So again, yeah, we're going to be fine. We'll keep grinding. Keep watching. But with that being said, I want to thank Al for always joining me. I want to thank you guys for watching as well. Make sure to like and subscribe this video. Make sure to like and subscribe Body Slam for whenever we go live, or one of the many great people on Body Slam go live. A lot of great content on there. Check out. Make sure you like and subscribe, like I said. And join us next Thursday. We'll be right back here right after TNA. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace.